Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L coming to you in animated form, virtual YouTuber form. Guys, I realize I'm technically a virtual YouTuber sometimes. Anyway, not the point. Coming in for the chapter roundup for Shonen Jump. A little bit delayed. I'm also coming to you animated this week because, I got a little bit. One of my coworkers was sick. I caught something again from this person, and I'm not looking great, so I'm just gonna do it this way. It feels more comfortable. We're gonna go through a bunch of the different chapters. I know the next chapters are coming out like in a few days, whatever. We'll get all my opinions out here. This week of chapters I think was relatively strong. There were a lot of highlights from this past week, such as Chainsaw Man coming in with the color spread. I think we got some cool things all around, and since we also have some of the monthly series that came up on the 20th. I think that's just like probably last week, Thursday. We can also talk about Dragon Ball Super and Boruto at the end. I think we're going to cover a lot of the different chapters for this week, so let's just get into it. We'll begin with Kimetsu no Yaiba. So, Kimetsu no Yaiba this week, I do legitimately think had a stronger week than the previous week, and the reason for it is when you look at the structure of chapter 195. Chapter 195 has something that chapter 194 just doesn't have, that makes chapter 195 inherently stronger and a lot more fun to follow, at least for me, and that is a short-term goal. I think right now with Kimetsu no Yaiba, I'm not a fan of how long this is dragging out. The joke is a fight on Namek turns into 20 minutes, or sorry, a 5-minute fight turns into like 8 episodes, something like that. But with Kimetsu no Yaiba, it's just kind of dragging. This chapter kind of changes that. And it's because of the short-term goal that we were given in the chapter, that is getting Iguro some eyes. That was an excellent short-term goal. I think, really, when you have a long-term goal like we have to try and stop Muzan, when you have a long-term goal like that, I think it's really good when you can put in a bunch of short-term goals that get you closer to the long-term goal in the long run. And again, it's best to see it when you compare it to chapter 194. In 194, what did you get? You just got moving goalposts. You just got new information being presented. New information such as, oh my god, Muzan has old injuries, or oh my god, Iguro, he's there and he is actually able to help Tanjiro. You just got a lot of new information. Here, you still get new information, but you have that goal that Tanjiro's constantly working towards. When you have that goal that can't be manipulated, can't be pushed further back, the same way that, Tanjiro was trying to use his sword, but then the goal, he was trying to use the original breathing, and then the original breathing didn't work out well enough for him, or he wasn't able to execute enough. The goalpost got moved further away. You don't get that here. There's a very clear thing. You need to give the guy eyes. You can see how tense the whole situation is. It works. Now, I would love it if Kimetsu no Yaiba could add a lot of short-term goals into this whole thing. Like if every chapter had a short-term goal that contributes towards Muzan, that doesn't just get taken away, or it's conclusive enough, that'd be great. But at the same time, to expect a writer under stress of deadlines to constantly put short-term goals in as we get towards the end of this fight, that's unreasonable, because that is relatively hard to do. Because at that point, you pretty much have to make something akin to an episode's plot every single time. And when I say an episode of plot, I mean, like, imagine like a cartoon, how it has a beginning, a middle, and end. You'd have to put a mini story into every chapter, which just isn't reasonable to do given time constraints. You need a really talented person and a really relaxed person to be able to pull that off, I think, in my opinion. Regardless, that just makes this chapter all the better. I think it's great how this was presented, because it gave a mini plot that was fun to follow, while also doing the things that the previous chapter did, such as giving you new information. Anyway, in terms of the quick walkthrough, the cover page just shows us that Love Girl is going to be hopefully getting back into the fight. She's being healed. The next pages 2 and 3, what I think was really interesting about 2 and 3 is how Muzan's characterization continued to get reinforced. It's not really developed, it's just being reinforced. My favorite thing is really Muzan saying, but the real monster was him and not me. I just love how Muzan is so narcissistic. Like, Muzan is a character who doesn't look at the atrocities he commits and instead thinks that it's the what how he blames the world for his problem. It's the world's problem, not me. I ain't the problem. All the bad things happen to me. That's why I have to do things. I love this characterization for Muzan. I love that it continues there because it just reveals that Muzan is a weak man. He is weak in character, and that is reinforced in the chapter. So again, the chapter has a message there. It starts at the beginning, very, very well, with goals being established. Tanjiro wants to get Iguro some eyes, and then Muzan is talking about, or he's trying to make a case that he is not a terrible person, or he is not a monster. And you see these answers at the end of the chapter with Muzan running away, Iguro making the comment that he is not a samurai, he has no honor, and then you have, of course, Iguro getting eyes. So again, in terms of a nice story within the chapter, I think that was really good. Anyway, we go up to page 9, where I think is the next real big turning point, because between page 2 and 3 and page 9, you just have more of the guys reacting to the situation and just telling us what's going on. Of course, with Iguro coming in with that observation about Muzan. By page 9, though, we have that big moment where Muzan is trampling over the bodies of other people. I think this was just great in general, because it was cool to see Tanjiro hurling the swords. That was really neat, and it was a really cool way of saying that these fallen comrades are still being helpful. And again, it's serving to just re-emphasize the differences between the hunters and Muzan himself. Honestly, these kind of messages of saying why Muzan's different, we don't need it as much anymore because we fully understand that. But again, it does help accentuate the emotions of the situation. Anyway, by page 12 and 13 and through to about page 16 and 17, we are just seeing the effects of having that short-term goal, because it pretty much turns into that dramatic tension of, oh my god, the little what do you call them? The little seals, the little spells just went into the air. Oh my god, how are we gonna get them? Oh god, Tanjiro's going in and he's giving the guy verbal commands to try and get them and telling the snake to grab the seals. You know, that was all a really tense situation. I really appreciate it. It's moments like that that really made the chapter stronger, I feel, as I already mentioned. But yeah, no, that was really cool. And we end off the chapter with Nezuko coming in with different colored eyes. This might get a little bit dangerous here. Regardless, absolutely strong chapter. The tension was great because we had a goal that we could easily understand. The characterization was great. The internal plot within the chapter really made it feel good because there was a lot of bookends within the chapter, or 2 bookends that were significant. This is a good example of how to drive up the tension in a situation where the goal is still far off. I really do think if you ever get stuck in a situation like the one that Kimetsu no Yaiba is in, where one fight is being dragged out for a very long time, you gotta add in multiple short-term goals, because that will make the thing feel valuable. It won't just be a slog of barely anything changing week by week. In this chapter, you can definitely say there was a significant change, that being Iguro got his eyes back. Anyway, let's move on to another chapter to talk about. Let's go to Chainsaw Man, because Chainsaw Man is really where it's at this week. Because Chainsaw Man was the one that was coming in with like the Shonen Jump weird, no, how would I say it? The trailblazer in Shonen Jump in terms of the material that they're showing off. It was a surprise, right? Who was expecting that? I do love this girl though, man. I think the author also loves this new character. Quincy, I think her name is. Whatever. The author loves her. I'm into it. I love it. I can't show you the color spread. I was told about it by Skelly that the color spread was amazing. I do believe the color spread's amazing. I found it funny that Viz had to age gate it, or pretty much say it, like lock it behind the login screen. I don't think this is the most risque thing in the world. Heck, I think that one giant color spread of all the girls together, I think that's really tasteful, actually. I found it, like, really tasteful. I thought that was really good. Like, way more tasteful than whatever Yuna of the Hot Springs does. That was super tasteful. That was just felt like, all right, cool. And I also like the coloring for it. But point aside, that was a really nice surprise. It's like this guy got a bunch of color spreads, and it's just like, all right, I got something that those little boys are gonna love, because Shonen Jump is directed at little boys. Regardless, the color spread doesn't really, like, in terms of the story, the color spread doesn't do much except emphasize the character manners, or sorry, not manners, the character's habits, the character's priorities. I mean, when like that's one thing you can really take away from this at the end of the chapter for Chainsaw Man is this character has different priorities, but it's cool to see that this character gets along well with fiends, right? Right? Anyway, once you get past the color spread, we are doing some pretty interesting stuff. We're moving very quickly still. The situation on the ground is changing between every chapter, and you start off with Makima. Did I say it right? Yeah, Makima. Just destroying the majority of the puppets. So, with Makima's scene, I think it was interesting. I think her segment in the chapter is super interesting. I'm curious as to her saying that she wants as many of her people's bodies as they can get. I wonder if that's because they want to minimize. Okay, like honestly, Chainsaw Man, my memories for Chainsaw Man, I don't have that much resources dedicated to it because My Hero Academia and One Piece take up the majority of that space in Black Clover, kind of. But when I see her saying that she wants the bodies, like my first instinct is to think, that's a strategic want. Maybe there's some sentimentality here that she doesn't want Japanese bodies that might have been contracted with devils getting into other hands here. Maybe she just cares about these other people. I don't know. But it's cool to see the woman destroying things as she always does. But this is such a situation where it's like I want to know more about the character, right? Like I want to know what exactly she's thinking when she says retrieve as many of our people's bodies as you can. Now, again, I might be missing something critical, so let me know down below. I'm just giving my general impressions based on what I've seen on the chapter. Moving on, we go into Denji's segment, which, honestly, Denji's segment is a lot of showcasing of, I think, other demon hunters, because you have the Petrifier, or the, what is it, the Rock Devil, I think, or the Stone Devil is what Viz called it. Let me just, oh yeah, the Stone Devil. So the Stone Devil was really cool. It was really cool to see that interaction. It was cool to see Denji and Power being able to just deal with the mannequins without turning into mannequins. That was really cool. The new Con guy, or the new dog guy, pretty cool. But it's really a short chapter when you really look at it in terms of what's changed. Makima's just shown off what she's doing. Denji's situation has been updated. They're running away with a bunch of other devil hunters. And then you have just pretty much the emphasizing that the battle is still going on. You have the various parties involved. You have those people over at the amusement park. You have the guy telling himself he's immortal. Then you have, of course, the best person in the whole thing. Where is her name? Oh yeah, Quan Chi. Quan Chi, there you go. Quan Chi just having a great time, gonna mess up her fiends. I really think Quan Chi is gonna just get through this whole situation. This battle's gonna die down, and she's gonna be at the end in her hotel. Then she's gonna be like, "All right, everyone else is done. I'm satisfied for now. For like the next hour, let's go find him." I think this is so. I love the setup for it, man. I love the setup that this lady is just having the best time of her life, waiting for everything to die down so she can come out and deal with things once everyone else is done doing stuff. It's gonna be great. I do want to see the old man get beat down, though. Like if. I hope that this lady comes in such a way that it just makes the whole thing funny. I want this to continue being so funny, because like the setup for these fights, or not the fights, the setup for the problem is just hilarity in of itself. Between Power taking out one of the assassins with a car accidentally, and then this other girl with her insatiable libido, it's just been amazing. Like this has been a fun time, all right. Any other things that I could say? Denji's still hanging out with that really cool looking, or sorry, the really cool looking hunter is still in the area with Denji. I want to see more about him. This chapter wasn't really about him, though. He's kind of just there in the background. Regardless, good stuff, man. Chainsaw Man was really fun today. Not really much, like a lot of situation updates, but not really a lot of progression in terms of, sorting this fight out. But hey, it's a fun ride. That's the really good thing about Chainsaw Man. It's always been a fun ride. Okay, let's move into one of the new series for Shonen Jump here, going into Guardian of the Witch. Guardian of the Witch this week is just leading us into that confrontation between the current antagonist, the Steel Boy. What's his name here? I think I can find his name. Gen. Right, Gen. So, we're going into the fight with Gen. We're probably going to see Demon... Oh, sorry, not Demon. I was going to say Demon Slayer. Witch and Guardian type combat. It's going to be interesting. Like, really, when I see Gen, I just see a guy that gives our main character the opportunity become stronger, the opportunity to incorporate new ways of fighting. That's what I'm really seeing here. So I'm excited. Now, the other thing that the chapter was doing was giving the kids a safe space. It was giving them a moment of reprieve. I feel like this chapter was really One Piece-ish in terms of how it presented these villagers. They welcomed these people in, and then the guy's like, yo, if I think you're cool, and you're good to go. Like that kind of kindness from non-important characters, that feels like something that you would see in One Piece. And that might be on purpose, or like there might be some kind of influence there because this is an adventure series. We technically aren't just locked in one place. We are going from town to town right now. That seems to be the thing. So I do feel that when I see that, man, I'm seeing that One Piece, that fairy tale kind vibe. And it was really nice. It was really nice to see that this was an issue where this guy is looking beyond the propaganda to say, hey, I think you guys are really cool. The only thing is, again, I'm having a little bit of a struggle with the world building. I want to understand how this guy can exist in a world where evils are constantly battering down the walls of cities. It's just, my question is, could you have someone this kind in a world that is constantly under siege? Maybe could. You really legitimately could. It's just a matter of logistics. I just need to know more of the logistics about what's going on here. Like, how do the evils work and all that, in terms of how they interact with smaller settlements. But yeah, whatever. Overall, in broad strokes, Chapter 4 of Guardian of the Witch brought in that adventurous vibe, and now we're going straight into a fight. The pacing for Guardian of the Witch is still very fast, but that might be expected because it's a new series. It needs to establish itself very quickly in order to say, like, hey, we're cool enough, we can stay, you'll like the story. So they're going really fast. Right now, Gen is very eager, but really the quality of this character is going to be measured by how much he inspires in the main character. How much improvement can he inspire in our guy, right? That's really how I'm going to be gauging Gen. Good stuff overall. That was the general broad strokes for Guardian of the Witch Chapter 4. Okay, now let's see. Which other one can we move into? We could talk about Mashle next, since we're on the new series right now. So Chapter 5 of Mashle, I do not enjoy it as much as Chapter 4. Like, it still has some really, really great moments, right? It's still funny, but I don't think it was as funny as Chapter 4. Now, the thing with Chapter 5 is that we're doing that very tried and tested plot line of the noble or like the really rich guy is hazing the underclassmen. You even throw in some, he's taking advantage of the new guy's supposed friend to make his life worse. And then you have, of course, at the last page of the chapter, the comeuppance for the noble getting smashed down. That moment where the main character destroys the status quo and everyone reacts. You know, we've seen these kind of moments before, and in that sense, that's kind of why I did not enjoy the chapter as much. Because I know how this story arc goes. I know that Mash is going to defend his friend. I know that this noble guy is going to end up with his head smashed into the floor. This is just the natural thing. And I think that's kind of the weakness for the chapter, is that it spent a lot of time on characters that weren't Mash. Because when Mash is the center of the comedy, you know, like, removing him from any page makes the whole thing less funny, less enjoyable. That said, Mash had a good moment here. There were still good jokes, like him scoffing, I guess is the word, at the whole expulsion thing, and then saying, like, actually no, that would be pretty bad. You know, those little moments still really strong. I do think in terms of the heartwarming feeling, that moment where Mash is telling his roommate that he's a really swell guy, I think that was also a really strong moment. Like, there's a lot of really nice moments in here. It's just that it's incorporated into the framework of the standard bully plot line. That's the only thing. So right now you're working with a tried and tested formula, and you're just trying to see how Mashle kind of puts its own spin on it. And really the spin that Mashle's putting on it is just the humor and the earnestness from Mash, which, again, valuable. But I do want more Mash-centric chapters. I do want to see just Mash dealing with things on his own, not just this whole noble thing. Now, the thing is, these kind of plot lines, they lead into bigger arcs. For instance, taking down Noble's kid could very well lead us to the Noble kid getting punished for his misbehavior, or Mash developing a target on his back with, what was it, the vice principal or something like that. And you know, that kind of stuff can snowball. So overall, I think Mashle still strong. Not as, for me, not as good as Chapter 4 in terms of my personal enjoyment. But like, we're talking about an above average series here. It's very funny. So there's nothing really wrong with this. Like, even it's still above the passing grade here, right? But yeah, for this chapter, I think we'll have to see how it spins off into worse things later. We'll have to see how this leads to a bigger plot potential. Moving on, I do want to talk about a series that I did not talk about last week, that being Yozakura Family. I personally really enjoy Yozakura. I think it's a cool series. I like the earnestness of the character. I think in terms of the Shonen Jump formula, it is set up to be successful. We are right now in chapter 25. I feel that it's doing better than Samurai 8. That might be my personal opinion. I haven't looked up volume sales, but in terms of Shonen Jump's magazine rankings, I think it's doing better than it. It got a color page this week. So I'm hoping, I'm really hoping that this turns into a series that gets at least 30 chapters. I'm hoping for a 70 chapter run. I think by chapter 70, if it gets legs, like, we can be seeing something really cool. But like, this chapter, I think, did a lot of really cool things between what the characters were doing and potentials for the future. Now, people did point out that the plot that we end up falling into at the end, that is the conspiracy plot line with our main character's family. They did point out that that feels like endgame material. I don't think that could be endgame material. I think that if they want to, like, when I see Yozakura Family, I really expect things to get as ridiculous as they did with Katekyo Hitman Reborn. Like, Hitman Reborn started off as a comedy, and then it very quickly switched into paranormal shonen with the introduction of flames. All they need to do for this spy manga is just say, like, hey, alright, there's actually this supernatural power that we can bring in that is going to be featured in all of our spy fights. Hitman Reborn did it. I could see it happening here, man. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway, in terms of the chapter itself, I think it was cool. It was setting up a new villain for... I don't know the names for the characters in this manga, so I'm going to say the Stepping on Flowers guy. Now, you know what? Hinagiku. I'll say the Hinagiku guy. So, Hinagiku guy, I think the chapter was structured really well. You started with him. You had him reminding you of stepping on flowers, the high-speed movement technique. I shouldn't be calling it a high-speed movement technique, but you know, the movement technique for the series. You had him introducing it, then you had him introducing the possibility that there was someone else in the area, and then you had our main character going in and fighting his villain, the villain that has some significance with him. You had a pretty cool rhetoric there about how you can take advantage of someone's overconfidence. So in terms of actually... This is my favorite part of the chapter. In terms of the battle logic, the idea of a character taking advantage of a character's overconfidence and just even mimicking or pretending to know another technique, that being stepping on flowers, I think that was an excellent approach. Hubris is usually the downfall of villains, but this makes sense. When you have spies who are predisposed to gather as much information as possible, these kind of little... creative solutions, they can change the situation. I totally understand the rhetoric. I think the rhetoric was really strong for that. It was really my favorite moment of the chapter, and it shows us how a weak person can take advantage of situations. One thing about the chapter 2 is that we were focusing on all the different things that the family was giving our main character. All the different techniques that he could try and use there. It does, when you have those little moments of characters saying, like, because of this person I have this, I'll use this person's skill, I'll use this person's skill, it does make it feel like we're going towards an ending, because it's that appreciation of the journey so far. But I am holding out hope that it will last. Like, come on, 70 chapters would be great. Anyway, It was cool to see our main character win the fight, and it was cool to see that the guy got silenced. But the best part was it was cool to see how competent characters are, specifically with the villain for this arc. When we see the character that getting a note from the villain, and the villain did leave like pretty much a dead man's switch. He left in case everything went wrong. There was still a way for the plot to move forward. There was still a way for this kid to get mercy. I do appreciate that. The fact that the guy had that note does indicate some degree of kindness from this villain, and I really appreciated that for this chapter. So Yozakura Family, this arc I think was really strong. Mind you, my memories are not that great. That's why I'm being very careful with the names I'm using here. But in broad strokes, I think it was a really solid chapter. I think it was done really well, and I love how competent characters were revealed to be here. Especially the villain. I really respected his last move there, having that note made ahead of time. That was just cool. That's a nice guy. That was a nice guy. That's a villain that when you if you got to the end, like if you got to like 100 chapters later, the character is reflecting on things. It's villains like these that are formative events for a character that you look back on and be like, yeah, like he was really cool. Good stuff for Yozakura Family. Okay, moving on to We Never Learn. Really, the big point of We Never Learn, aside from the salt building up in the fandom, the big points of We Never Learn this week are that we got conclusions, or we got some degree of closure to the teacher plotline and the Konami plotline. It was cool, it was cute to see all these people coming together to help them. This feels, I don't know, like this feels par for the course for a harem, where all the losers in the harem come to help the main guy get his proper love. One more thing that I really enjoyed in the lead up to Uraka was the main character, Yuiga, I know his name, was Yuiga recognizing that Uraka has been waiting for a very long time. I think that was a really good line on him. And in terms of like things that make Yuiga cool, like look man, when Yuiga shows up there damaged, battered, in front of Uraka, as Uraka is saying his name, like honestly, if someone was saying some random person's name in an airport, I would not approach that person. But you know, that's just a joke. But no, the kid showing up right in front of her like that, that's such a smooth operator, man. Like, come on, that is a cool kid. That's a really cool kid. Good for him. You know what? Good for him. He's really worked for it. Uraka is not my pick. I've already said this last week, but I can appreciate how much effort the kid's putting in here. Good for him. Good for them. She looked really surprised. But yeah, I have nothing else to say about it. I'm not going to psychoanalyze what all these girls are saying because at this point, it doesn't matter anymore. They've won. Oh, sorry, Uraka's won. There's no point looking at what this teacher was doing anymore here. Not saying I'm salty, but no, it's cool. It's cool. I think in terms of the drama, I think We Never Learn is doing it well. It's a really fun ride, watching everyone try to help the kid there. Okay, the video is going really long, so I'm gonna get even more general with the good points about the remaining chapters. Starting with Samurai 8. Samurai 8, I think, handled the whole situation with On and Hatch well. I don't know what else I can say about it. I mean, like, it's pretty much two people coming together and communicating. And apologies being given. I think that moment of both of them looking at each other's eyes, the silhouette of them on their ship, I think is amazing, right? I'm all for characters being competent with expressing how they feel. That's only a good thing in my eyes. I think if you're complaining about this, really all you can say is that it was slowing down the chapter. But given that relationships are so significant for Samurai in this series, I think it's cool. Now, the other part that I think is worthwhile is again Goku showing off how much of a how much of a badass he is. When he comes in there and says that his job is done now, it's like, man, thank you for being the guy that lights a fire under our main character's butt and not just being a guy who's trying to take advantage of the situation. Man, look, man, this could have been so much more annoying, but holy crap moly, thank God that this character is actually a cool guy. Anyway, after that we go into the battle setup where Atta is showing up. I do think that running into a fight with Atta so quickly, I do think that's an indicator that we're coming to the end here. But let's face it, that final panel of those giant robot fight monster things, man, that looked so cool. Come on, that was really cool. I'm excited to see how things spiral out of control here. I kind of want to see where we're going, and I want to see how these old teachers are gonna deal with a guy that's combined two styles, or sorry, combined two schools of fighting. It's gonna be really neat. Any Hoosers. Actually, I wonder if they're gonna turn it into a kind of master, jack of all trades, master of none. I wonder if they're gonna turn it into like some kind of rhetoric like that. Anyway, for Samurai 8. The chapter itself, I think, was solid, right? I think it's really solid that the characters got that moment of conversation. I think Goku in general is really solid, but I do think that this, like, the fight here with Atta is happening so quickly. I mean, you go from just how like 12 to 13 pages of people talking into all of a sudden like, oh shit, we gotta go intercept this guy, right? Pretty fast. But designs are freaking cool, man. I am excited to see where we are 3 chapters from now. Okay, very quick words on Dragon Ball Super Chapter 57. And I think that'll be easy because Dragon Ball Super, you know, like, it's not really a series that spends a lot of time on dialogue. But I liked it. I really liked it. I love it when the other Z fighters are actually shown to be doing cool stuff. Like Krillin coming out with all the Destructo Disc and then doing the after image technique. Come on, strategic wins all the way. I love that. The androids being there to counter a guy that absorbs energy, also, like, super awesome, right? I love that. I love those kind of creative solutions to these fights. And in terms of the chapter, by the end of it, you have Goku showing up. You have Moto, who is honestly a lot more... I was really worried. I was really concerned with Moto, you know? Like, I really thought maybe this guy wasn't going to work well in Dragon Ball because he's a tricky villain, and we haven't had a tricky villain like him in a very long time. But this has been really good. He is a legitimate threat. I take him very seriously. I'm all for it. Anyway, by the end of it, you have Moto there. You have Goku showing up thanks to Krillin's last-minute move, which I think was also a great move from Krillin, putting that faith in his buddy. And then you have Yamcha and Tien getting beat up by the other notable guy. I think right now, in terms of the next chapter, I could hold off on seeing Goku and Vegeta for a little bit. I really want to see what Yamcha and Tien are going to do. Because again, I want to see what the weak people are going to do against strong characters. I hope that Yamcha and Tien don't just get saved by Goku. They have 3 people there. I feel like they could legitimately put up some kind of a fight. Heck, if they want to make the Yamcha Tien fusion canon in a manga, I don't know if it is canon outside of the video games. I'm all for it. They all know how to do the fusion dance. It'll be cool. The other thing that I think is the only other thing I think I want to say is that I find it really funny that there was that one moment where everyone is trying to hold back the guy that Moto powered up, and no one thinks to just blast him. Like, for some reason, everyone just goes in there and grabs the guy or grapples him, but not a single person thought to blast him. Who knows? Maybe I'm just crazy here. Maybe I'm missing something. I just feel you blast him. I feel like maybe your blasts are stronger than your fist at this point, or at least stronger than you're pushing. But hey, what do I know? It still led to a pretty cool moment of people getting their face smashed in, so that was all cool. But yeah, for Dragon Ball Super, I think the Moto arc has been really fun. I'm all for watching more of it, but I'm really excited for when Vegeta shows up and actually... I want to see what new techniques he's got, man. I'm all for characters becoming more tricky. Like, I need more of this. I don't want just straight up fights anymore. I wanted to talk about Boruto, but I'm not sure if I want to anymore. It's already going on for very long. This video is already pretty long. It says about as long as a standard Hero Academia chapter. Alright, all I can really say for Boruto is I'm happy with how things went down. You know, I'm happy with how they got Naruto out of the ball. I'm happy with seeing how quickly the villain fell apart. And I'm also happy with seeing that holy crap possession that Boruto had going on. Like, that was a pretty cool time, man. Now, because we are going kind of general, I'm not going to go into theory crafting here. But I think it was really cool. I think it's cool to see that Momoshiki is still living on inside of Boruto. I think that's really interesting. I wouldn't have expected that kind of shenanigan to be popping out here, you know? Anyway, it's cool to see Momoshiki in there and being willing to help out in this particular situation. I think he ends it off with something. Let me just see. Not yet. Still. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It's still a ways away that you'll lose it all. So they're still talking about this giant event that's going to be happening. So that's really interesting. In terms of what the chapter accomplished, it's really finishing the fight and establishing that Momoshiki still has a presence in here. Man, I hope I'm saying the right person's name. Let me just make sure. Is it Momoshiki? Otsuki. That's what he said. I'm pretty sure that's his name. I might be missing the name right now, but don't mind me. Point is, did good stuff. I'm really excited about the end of the chapter though, because you have the guy who might be Jiraiya or someone in Jiraiya's body going in to take down Jigen. I am really interested in this. I really want to see where this is going. I see that he has a stripe on his eye. Man, if that turns out to be Jiraiya, that'd be pretty cool, but I hope it's not just Jiraiya, because that kind of like... Oh, you know what? Point is, I have that question in my head. I'm wondering what the relation he has to Jiraiya, if any. I want to see how this is going to go. I think this is going to be interesting. Also, it's interesting that someone is with the 10 tails. Yeah, no. Overall, cool chapter. But really, the interesting action is on the villain side. Can't wait to see where we go from here. Okay, my voice is now giving out. Let's leave it there for the Shonen Jump roundup. We covered a giant chunk of the series. In terms of Dr. Stone, just very quickly, I'll just say I think Dr. Stone chapter was solid. It was cool to see Soyuz finding a place that he can stay at for a while, and it's cool that we're going to get Kasa back pretty quick here. I am wondering about the two high potential combatants, because we didn't see them getting revived. But yeah, probably get an answer to that soon. In terms of Dr. Stone, I'm looking forward to see how things are back at home. Anyway, yeah, guys, I'm gonna call it there. Thanks for watching. My voice is almost dead. Anyways, thanks for watching, and until next time, I hope you have a great day.